Okay, here we go. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Taft City Council Successor Agency Joint Regularly Scheduled Meeting for Tuesday, November the 5th, 2019. Here, perhaps for the last time in the Oil Dorado room. We don't know for sure, but maybe. If you would all silence your phones, please, if you haven't already done that. We're going to begin this evening's meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to ask that former Mayor Randy Miller, and always a veteran, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation from Rich Johnson of the First Assembly of God Church.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please join me as we honor our nation's flag by placing your hand over your heart and pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, God, we thank you again for this time to come together and God, just to be directed by you. God, guide our thoughts, our actions. Let everything tonight be for your glory. God, guide our leadership in our town. God, we just pray blessings on them. And thank you again in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you both. Madam Clerk, may we have roll call, please?
Yes. Mayor Knorr.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Cryer.
Here.
Councilmember Eveland.
Here.
Councilmember Whiting.
Yes, here.
And we have Councilmember Bryant absent with notice.
All right, thank you very much. The first item on this evening's agenda, which was a presentation by Gerald Starr from the healthcare facility, is going to be postponed. There's somebody who's going to be a part of the presentation that is ill, so that will not be in this evening's agenda. We'll look forward to that coming back to us. Therefore, item number 2, the presentation from Matt Tate, Retail Strategies. Mark Staples is going to lead us off with that.
Thank you, Mayor Knorr and council members. Just a quick introduction. Many of you know we've been working with Retail Strategies almost 2 years now. They've been getting us the extra data that we've needed for our economic development process, the population beyond our borders that we needed. And some of you have met Scott Van Cannon and Joe Strauss on the first page of the flyers that you have there. Those are the gentlemen with the distinct Alabama accents. So they've gotten us another rep that we're going to start working with that can cover more of the California region. His name is Matthew Tate, and he's here today with a presentation for you.
All right, thank you very much, Mark.
Mayor and council, thank you for having me. Matthew Tate, as Mark mentioned with Retail Strategies, I personally am from Northern California. I've been in this industry for the past 7 years with a different firm, but when I left my previous firm, Retail Strategies was like, man, we need a guy who talks like he's from California and identifies Raiders logos as a good thing, so that's what they called me. I've got the silver and black tie. I'm from Northern California. My father-in-law lives in Newport Beach. My mother-in-law lives in Exeter, so we've kind of got all of California covered. And so that's my background. What we're going to talk about a little bit today, I'm going to give you guys a brief agenda. As Mark mentioned, you guys have primarily been working with Scott and Joe. They're going to still remain very much a part of what we're doing, as they have great retail connections out here in California, but I'm going to be slowly taking some of that over. So today I'm presenting a lot of their work, but we've updated a lot of information that you have in front of you. I'm going to give a brief Retail Strategies refresher and just kind of an overall retail refresher. We'll talk about our process, how we do it, what we've done so far. We'll talk about the partnership results to date. We've got some exciting wins. We're also going to talk about the current and future focus that we're working on today and what we'll continue working on, and then closing, open it up to any questions. So we'll just keep on rolling here. Retail's importance. We believe at Retail Strategies that retail creates an identity for communities, retail creates jobs, retail develops and bolsters a tax base, but most importantly, it influences the quality of life and definitely can impact the quality of life. That's why we are in the industry doing what we do. A lot of economic development organizations are chasing industrial or chasing rooftops, but we believe that retail is just an equal part of that and can help pull in some of those other industries as well. A brief background of Retail Strategies. We are based out of Birmingham, Alabama. Retail Strategies was founded in 2011. You can see we have 2 offices now. I head up the Fort Worth office that we have. 35 team members, 132 city partners, a 4-to-1 staff to client ratio. We have 180 years of retail real estate experience in our building. And our one goal, everything that we do under our roof, we focus on recruiting retail for cities. Our process is to truly be resources, be an extension of your staff, surround what we do around guys like Mark, like Craig, to really put our expertise, our partnership, our years of experience into the efforts of the city. We do that through, first, a market analysis. A lot of the council, you guys have that in front of you. We'll pull that up as well here in a second so that everyone can see it. But we do a market analysis to really understand the data, the analytics. What does your market look like from a retailer? Then we go through a strategic planning phase where we come and do boots on the ground. We perform that already to understand what are the best retail opportunities here if we're going to go and talk to retailers. The next piece, and maybe the most important piece that sets us apart from anyone else, and where we believe we've had a lot of success, is a proactive retail recruitment approach that we take. So we go to trade shows on your behalf. We go to trade shows with you guys. We call retailers throughout the year to essentially let them know and help tell the story of Taft. And that's what's got us results. We couldn't do this without great leadership from Mark, from Craig as well. Joe and Scott tell me that these guys are a pleasure to work with. So kudos to you guys. Mark, do you mind flipping over to that flyer? So just so everyone can kind of see what council's looking at here. This is the retail flyer. So this is newly updated. You'll see what we do. One of the, I guess, biggest data. Everyone has data nowadays. Everyone has data. It's what you do with the data that matters. So we go and we tell stories with our data. One of the most important things you can see is a daytime population in this community is 25,000, right? So when we go to retailers and we have conversations with them, we're not talking about a town of 9,500. We're talking about 25,000 people that are here looking for lunch, looking to get some services, looking for groceries during the day. And that's a huge number, and that's what ultimately led to a lot of success for us, we believe. So you can see this. We call this a marketing flyer. This is what we take to retail trade shows. This is what we take and send to retailers when they're interested. It just gives a really high-level overview of the market. Now, one thing that we do is a mobile analytics study to where we can pick certain retailers in your market, maybe the Save More, maybe the Dollar General that's just opening. We draw a polygon, an imaginary polygon around that location. Any cell phone that comes into that location, we can capture that data, trace it back to where it came from, and that's how we're able to understand how big is the trade area actually. So that's what you can see in that orange polygon shape there. That's where people are truly coming from for goods and services here in Taft. And that's a big deal because retailers might look at a 1, 3, 5 mile radius, but what we want to tell them, what we want to show them is that it's much bigger than that. And in some cases, you go very far northeast, but you don't go as far to the southwest, right? So that's where a radial ring can be misleading to retailers. And so we've leveraged this type of data to get beyond the gatekeeper responses. You can see, and we'll talk a little bit more about this, but this is also part of that marketing flyer. This is an aerial map with the retailers on it. Retailers are not pioneers. Retailers want to go where they've had success in other markets. They also want to go where other retailers are. There's a big misunderstanding in the retail world that burgers want to be the only burgers in town. No, if you can sell burgers, I can sell burgers too. That's their mindset, right? So this is just a way of saying to other retailers, hey, look at the national retail that's here. Look how good they're doing. You will see that there's 4 new retailers on this slide from when we started our partnership. We'll talk about that a little bit more in depth here later. So this is just a brief timeline that allows everyone to kind of see what we do. We've done this each year. We're in the second year of our partnership. The first 30 to 60 days is our discovery phase, where we are running that data. We are studying a 12-month snapshot to see that mobile analytics. We're putting together those marketing flyers. We're also putting together a retail strategy. So that's some of these items on here. If they are shorter line, the blue and the orange, those are things that we do in a kind of a vacuum, a small time. The items in green, those are the things that are evergreen, ongoing through the life of our partnership. So once we develop that package, once we develop the marketing flyers, once we identify the retailers that look like a good fit for the market, we then go out and recruit them for you. We go and report our findings, our conversations back to the city, and we're there to represent you guys. So just a little snapshot of how we do what we do. Now once we start, we do what we call a boots on the ground analysis, to where we come out, we drive, we call property owners, we call brokers, we call developers, we find out what are the best locations here for retail. So a green dot on this map was identified as, according to our boots on the ground and our years of experience, these were the best spots for retail when we did the boots on the ground analysis. What you'll see is we discovered 25 plus properties. I think the actual count's 26, so right in the 25 range that we felt were good enough for us to go and talk to retailers at trade shows. One thing that retailers, they're not pioneers, they also don't want to give you a whole lot of time. So if you're going to talk to retailers, they want to know what sites you have that look just like what they want, that look just like where they have in other markets. So that's why we do this boots on the ground analysis. Everyone might want a certain retailer, but if we don't have a square footage for them, if we don't have a lot for them, we're wasting their time. We're not going to get their ears when we have something real for them. So we identified properties, we put together that strategy, as I kind of mentioned, jumped out of order there. That's part of our discovery phase. You can see that we have all kinds of technology as well. So if someone walks in and says they want to open a yogurt shop, and they sit down with Mark and they say, I need some data, we can provide Mark with data on whether it makes sense, where highlight some opportunity, highlight some risk, stuff like that. So all of that is ongoing as part of our partnership as well. And back to this aerial. So now you can see in the green, these are the 4 retailers that we've successfully partnered with the city to bring in since we started in April of 2018. So you can see the Starbucks, you can see the Jack in the Box, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and we've got the grocery outlet coming as well. So for what I've been doing for the last 7 years, to have 4 retailers, including a grocery store, in just over a year of recruiting is fantastic success. So kudos to you guys for clearing hurdles. That, I mean, obviously we all know that there's word that it's really hard to work, to build, to get through the hurdles of building in California. You guys came together and did it, so that's a great job. So what do we do year-round? How do we communicate to you guys? How do we communicate to retailers? We leverage what's called Basecamp. This is our online portal. To anytime we go to a trade show, anytime we talk to Chick-fil-A and they say, oh, we like this location or whatever, we put that in Basecamp. That gets an email out to Mark, to Craig, to just kind of see, hey, here's conversations that we're having year-round. So we report, we have communication ongoing. We also have a web platform that we created for you guys. It's kind of an economic development platform, but this is, anyone can go on their computer or tablets, retailstrategies.com/Taft, and you can see, you can click on that marketing flyer, and you can click on that aerial. We put all kinds of data on here. We give a background of who we are, and just really try and make it to where if a retailer's looking, a developer's looking, someone like that they have the ability to get to the information that they want quicker on a community page than having to go to the city's page and dig around to find what they're looking for. They can get quick data here. Once we have all that, we also go to conferences. So ICSC Recon is it is the largest retail shows in the country. It's in Las Vegas in May of every year. I believe the last show had 35,000 people at the convention center for 3 days. It's exhausting. If your city leaders are going, don't think they're going to Vegas to have a good time, because it's hardly a good time. It's a lot of work. It's exhausting. You don't have to partake in the normal Vegas things to feel like you were doing that stuff. I mean, it's 8 hours on your feet, walking the convention hall, dodging 35,000 people to get to your meeting. So we go to this. We've been in our partnership. We've been to 2 of these on your behalf so far, 2 of the Recon shows. We've also been to the ICSC West Coast shows. So Recon is where the national people come to meet. Then we have regional shows like in Monterey, and we have regional shows in LA, which will be moving to San Diego. We've been to 2 of those on behalf of the city as well. There's also a show in Austin, Texas called Retail Live. We're a platinum sponsor of that, and that's essentially what I'm saying here is we go where retailers are meeting to have conversations on behalf of the city. I'll tell you, we were in Austin, Texas, and a Sherwin-Williams rep was talking about expansion in California. We were there to be able to have that conversation and get some information that if we weren't there, maybe we don't know that they're looking to expand, right? So it's not just people in California having conversations about California. They're doing it all over the country. So let's look at partnership success, right? We mentioned the names, Grocery Outlet, Starbucks, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, Jack in the Box, but let's look at the actual impact. And so this is the average performing sales in the second column there of these retailers. Again, average performing. So if we beat the average, we're going to see an increase to column 4. So, and also keep in mind in column 4, that total number of $124,800, that's annual sales tax revenue back to the city each year as long as those guys are open. So if you ask what's the return on investment in our partnership, $124,800 that can go to fire, that can go to police cars, that can go to raises, that can go to make the city safer and better. And we've also, we estimate the number of jobs that each of these have as well. So a lot of people don't think of retail as great jobs, or they just don't even think about the jobs as well, but that's 90 jobs that have been created in the city as well. So really a great slide there. But again, Grocery Outlet, Starbucks, O'Reilly's, and Jack in the Box. So where do we go from here? What are we working on? I drove around with Mark. I was a little late getting here. Had some air travel issues, so Mark was able to show me a lot of sites pretty quickly. But again, Joe and Scott have been working on these anyway. So we're looking to backfill the Kmart property. We've had a lot of interest. Grocery Outlet was initially interested in here, and they would have split the box with 2 or 3 other retailers as well. They obviously decided to build their own property instead, so that kind of put the other 2 on hold. So those other 2 we're still working to have communication with, but that's obviously a big focal point, is what can we do with the Kmart property. We're going to continue to sell it, to list it, to bring that up with retailers. We also have the West Side Shopping Center. So the strategies here is maybe to incentivize the landlord to sell the property as motivation to lease space is low. The feedback from national retailers is to take a space here has been very low due to co-tenancy and location in the market. So this one's a big one. We want to make better strides this year towards, but that's one of our future focus points. Then we have the continued development of the west side of town. A handful of retailers have been interested in the tract. We're going to continue to pursue those retailers. I can tell you there's 4 fast food restaurants that have shown interest still that we're in conversations with. 1 general merchandise, 1 outdoor hardware, not necessarily just on this site, but the conversations we're having in Taft in general. We've got about 6 that are very interested. We're just trying to find them a spot that makes sense for them and also makes sense for the property owner. We're also in pursuit of 2 regional type of restaurants as well. So a lot of good things that come. If we can add a few more, then that success side looks even better next time I'm here. So that's what I have today. I want to open it up to any questions, and if not, then I can just duck on out here. But thank you everyone for your time and listening.
All right, thanks for the update. Gentlemen, any questions?
I have one question. You mentioned the sales tax of $124,800. That's pretty significant, but it's even more significant. You said there's going to be 90 more jobs. If a job averaged between $5,000 and $10,000 per person per year, That'll generate $500,000 to $900,000, which they will spend here, hopefully all in Taft, which will create more jobs and other business opportunities on there. That's
right.
terrific.
Yeah, and think about a businessman that's thinking to move here, but he can't get his teenagers a job or something, right? The more retail we have, the more it makes it to where families can start to come in as well, and they can find those entry-level, low-paying jobs to start their careers, and they'll start building their resume. So, great point.
And you mentioned briefly about Kmart, the old Kmart there. What's realistically going to happen with that? You think you'll be able to rent it? You think it's going to...
So we drove in front of it. I mean,
lawsuit pending.
I haven't seen inside of it, but it looks like it needs some work, right? So you're gonna have to find a tent. Now, there's a lot of gym concepts, a lot of hardware concepts that like second gen buildings. So that's where you have an advantage. I don't know what the bones and structure are. Scott and Joe might know better. Mark might be able to add some to it, but from what I was looking at, now there's a big section of retail right now. That people believe in the retail apocalypse. That's not a thing. Retail is growing very well. It's growing just smarter than it did in the past, and part of that smarter is taking second gen space so they can get to market quicker, but it just depends on how much rehab would be needed in that building. So that's a big positive, is the fact that it's a second gen building, but how is it holding up would be the question that I have, and the retailers would have as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilman Evelyn, anything?
Actually, I had one question. However, it was answered on the next slide. I'm good. Thank you.
Councilman Whiting, any questions?
No, I just say thank you for your presentation. It was very well laid out, very thoughtful, and we appreciate the information very much. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for coming for us. Matt?
Absolutely.
We look forward to hearing from you again.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone.
All right, have a good evening, sir. All right, next up, citizens request public comments. This is the time and place for the general public to address the city council on matters within its jurisdiction. State law prohibits the council from addressing any issue not previously included on the agenda. Council may receive comment and set the matter for a subsequent meeting. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes. Oh, thank you. First up, we're going to hear from Dr. Deb Daniels from Taft College.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. It's a pleasure to be here tonight to give you a quick update on happenings at Taft College. But first, I wanted to thank the mayor for kicking off our Cougar Cookout on the 24th. It was a wonderful event, and you made it even better, so thank you so
Always
much.
is. Thank you very much for allowing me to be there.
Thank you. It was and it was our 10th cookout, and we honored Bob and Judy Hampton, so it was a great night for everyone. So first of all, I wanted to update you on our Student Center building. As you probably remember, about a year ago, we fired our contractor, and we've been in negotiations with their insurance company. And so a few weeks ago, we were able to hire a new contractor, Colombo Construction out of Bakersfield. And this week, they are beginning the construction project again. So yay, we're back up and running. That's the good news. It'll be 400 days to completion if everything goes according to plan. So I wanted to bring you that piece of good news, and also to update you on a couple of events that are coming up. We have our Hall of Fame on November 17th, where we're inducting some new people into the Hall of Fame. I'll run through the list. For outstanding male athlete, Dante Scarnecchia. He is the assistant coach for the New England Patriots. Distinguished classified person is Debbie Hageman. Outstanding male athlete, Otis Smith. Extraordinary service, Patricia Bench. And outstanding coach, Thomas Harrell. And outstanding team, 1966 championship football team. So they'll all be honored on the 17th, and we'd be honored if any of you would like to attend as well. On December 13th, we are having a community report breakfast at the college, where we'll come together over breakfast, and I will share our latest information about the college and the impact on the community. So again, I hope that you'll all plan to attend. And lastly, I would like to introduce our new Executive Director of Marketing and Community Relations, Susan Groveman, who came with me tonight. And you may have already seen her at meetings around town, but I'm glad she's joined us. And by the way, she moved to Taft. She comes to us from South Pasadena, where she was the Public Information Officer for the City of Pasadena. So I'm honored that she's here with us, and she may come to the council from time to time when I can't make it to update you. So I wanted to make sure that you know her face. So thank you, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And I will leave you with some invitations also.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks
you.
for the update. Welcome to the city of Taft. Glad to have you here as a resident. So look forward to seeing you around town. Okay, next up, we have representatives from Honor Flight, an incredible organization that do wonderful things.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Janice Mattoon Varner. I was born and raised here in Taft. Graduated high school in 1966 and went to Taft Junior College. Honor Flight is a national organization with a hub in Bakersfield where we raise funds to send World War II, Korea, and Vietnam veterans back to Washington, D.C. to see their memorials at no cost to them. We are fully a volunteer organization. We have no paid people that work for us, so it's all done really from our heart. A couple weeks ago, I had the pleasure and the honor of going on my 17th honor flight out of Bakersfield. We now have made 42 trips with our hub, and we've sent over 1,700 veterans from this area to Washington, D.C. Some of you may know that on this last, we took 100 Vietnam veterans with us at this time. I chose, excuse me, I chose to honor and remember our Taft Vietnam veterans killed in action. We have 17 of them, and fortunately or unfortunately, I knew most of them, went to school with them. They were my neighbors. I either dated them in high school or was very close to them. Those people that from Taft that I remembered and honored on behalf of the city of Taft were a day. Robert Lee, Army E4, born March 30th, 1950, date of casualty, October 24th, 1969. Dyer, Dennis Earl, Army E5, born February 2nd, 1947, date of casualty, May 17th, 1968. Gocher, Larry Jack, Army E4, born November 15th, 1945, date of casualty, March 22nd, 1968. Johnson, Larry Ray, Army E4, born January 13th, 1947, date of casualty, May 11th, 1968. Keeler, Ralph Leroy, Army E3, born July 4th, 1947, date of casualty, September 4th, 1966. Marr, John Austin, Army E5, born February 14th, 1949, date of casualty, May 5th, 1970. Morris, Donald Warren, Army E3, born November 23rd, 1949, date of casualty, July 16th, 1968. O'Brien, Chester Jr., Marine Corps E3, born May 18th, 1938, date of casualty March 5th, 1966. Oster Frank Allen, Army E3, born April 12th, 1947, date of casualty March 4th, 1968. Perry Donald Lee, Army E4, born July 23rd, 1948, date of casualty October 26th, 1968. Pierce Larry Stanley, Army E5, Born July 6, 1941, date of casualty September 20th, 1965. He's also a Medal of Honor winner and I call it my post office is named in his honor. Racy Larry Wayne, Army E4, born October 5th, 1947, date of casualty, July 26, 1970. Roach John Franklin, Navy E3, born October 12th, 1949, date of casualty, March 5th, 1970. Stone William Earl, Army E5, November 12th, 1946, date of casualty, October 29th, 1968. Taylor John Raymond, Army E3, September 25th, 1947, date of casualty, June 3rd, 1969. I happened to be dating him at the time. Thomas Hero Eugene, Navy 05, Commander Pilot, born September 12th, 1927, date of casualty, August 13th, 1965. He was a Distinguished Flying Cross. Wright Dennis Paul, Air Force E3, April 8th, 1946, date of casualty, November 26, 1966. At the time that we were at the wall, I had a picture and a flag for each one of these young men who gave their all for us to have our freedom. We left these pictures at the wall so people could have a name and a face. Those who visited the wall were able to see the wall. Those that I just read were part of the wall. What I'd like to present to you, Mayor Knorr, at this time. I have a flag that was flown over the Capitol. I have a certificate that says so. I have a little booklet that talks about the flag. And in memory and in honor of these Taft veterans that gave their all for all of us to have our freedoms here tonight, I would like to present the City of Taft, on behalf of them, this flag to fly with honor and respect over City Hall.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for everything you do and all the time you spend on that. We will see to this. This flies on Veterans Day over City Hall.
Hear, hear.
Here's the thing. This is your certificate, and I would like to include in here just the names of those.
Oh, absolutely.
David Knorr has also been on an honor flight as a Guardian, and I'd also like to thank Randy Miller for supporting me here tonight. He is a veteran of Navy, the Vietnam, and he escorted a Korean veteran on one of our trips that would do. So thank you, Randy, for supporting me this evening. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Well, thank you, Janice. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to all the vets that are here.
Mayor, may I indulge,
Please, sir.
as Janice, Randy Miller, as Janice indicated, many of those folks were from our era, and those names bring back many fond memories of high school days. But I'm here to talk about the veterans that are living and serving, and we want to honor them. And I've been graciously asked and honored to be able to MC the Veterans Day ceremonies down at Veterans Park on this coming Monday, the 11th, at 10 a.m. And we encourage all veterans on the west side to come down, and we'll have a nice little program, and we'll be able to present them, each of them, a challenge coin. And I've had the privilege of seeing that coin, and it's a very nice coin. So we're encouraging everybody to come down also to help us honor those veterans and the veterans that are serving. So
One of the side benefits of coming down is the Petroleum Club is catering lunch. So you'll have a nice meal afterwards, and our mayor is going to be able to speak, and our honorable councilman Ed Whiting is going to be there and to hand those coins out. So please join us, and I want to especially thank Janice far and above. She goes so far and above to support veterans, and she's from Taft, and we're so proud of her. And I had the honor of escorting a Korean War veteran, local guy, Howard Minton, on honor flight, and it's so well organized, and they get to go back and see their memorial. So thank you, City of Taft, and we'll see you on Monday.
Thank you very much, Randy, and thank you, Janice. Anybody who has never had the honor to be on an honor flight, I encourage you to reach out and try to be a part of the program. It's something you will never forget. I did too, and I took a Korean War veteran. He was actually wheelchair bound, and he required a great deal of help and support. But it was an amazing trip, and I will do it again. So if you haven't been and you're of a mind to, don't waste any more time thinking about it. Just do it. You will be glad you did. All right, that is the last of our public comments this evening. Next up, council statements, non-action. Councilman Eagle.
No statements, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thanks, sir. Councilman Whiting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too would like to thank the honor flight people. In October of 2013, my oldest brother was able to go on honor flight with our youngest brother, and my oldest brother passed away July 2nd of this year. He was 95. The World War II Navy vet, served on the California after the attack on Pearl Harbor, and then participated in the Mariana and Pelew Island campaigns. But his second youngest son, Richard, was killed in Vietnam and is on the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall. And throughout the years, people had sent him, the rubbings from the touring wall that tours around the nation. But he had yet to go there to the wall and actually see it. And so when Honor Flight came up and he was sponsored, my youngest brother took him as his guardian, and they were able to eventually make their way to the wall. And we have an absolutely beautiful picture of him where it's like a mirror, because the wall is so shiny. You can get a reflection of him pointing towards his son's name on the wall. And he would not have been able to do any of that had it not been for Honor Flight and all the generous donations and all the hardworking people that make that happen. So I can't say enough good things about Honor Flight, and it has certainly been a worthwhile endeavor, no matter how you look at it. So, and that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thanks, sir. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Veterans are very dear to our hearts. Every family has a veteran in their family, either from their grandparents to fathers and sons and daughters and stuff. And we're very much honored that they're there to fight for our country, to have us have our council meetings and have our schools and make our country work. Without them, we have a whole different world. I know my dad passed away a few years ago, and he served in World War II. At the end of World War II, he served in Korea, survived the Chosin Reservoir Massacre, and he was in Vietnam. And he loved his country like many other veterans in our city and stuff. They gave their all, and some gave, their memories and part of themselves that affected them. But for us to be able to be here and have our freedom. There's been a lot of talk about the new stores coming here in town, and now we can talk about now, because before it was all in closed sessions, and so we can discuss all that stuff. But I would like to give a recognition to Craig Jones, Mark Staples, and the staff. They went over and beyond the call of duty to get those stores here. There are a lot of issues that was involved with it, and we hear about in our closed door sessions and stuff. And some of the things could not have happened, but they made it happen. Things that came up, environment, this is different things that come up with it. And there are some more news stories coming, but we're not ready to say yet, but they're coming. I think the citizens of Taft are going to be happy with them, and thank Craig. But the city council did a wonderful job in promoting it, making that happen. We had to vote for it to make sure and ask the important questions, but Craig always came through with them. And I want to thank the mayor and the council members here for all that we've all did, but we had the easy job, But anyway, it happened, and there's more things coming here and be available. But on December 9th, there'll be a Christmas parade coming up, so everybody want to have floats and stuff, give the chamber. It'll be on December 9th, and the theme of it will be Oil Patch Christmas. And so it'll be interesting what the floats will look like. It'll be pumpkin units, all different imagination that goes along with it, and see the kids out there, waiting for Santa Claus to come up there on the last float and getting their candy. And it's a wonderful thing, and traditions that we have here and hold dear to us in Taft. Another thing I'd like to say, we're having Taft is having a Save the Fort steak night on Thursday the 14th. We have a social hour at 5, dinner at 6. It's at $25 a person, and we're using the Taft High Jazz Band will be our entertainment. They do a wonderful job. If you ever want to see the kids play, it's amazing. You think they're in college, how the music is and how it sounds, and the enjoyment I get from it. I know a lot of other people get a lot of enjoyment from it. But I really like it. But call the fort at 765-7371, or to show up and support the fort. And that's great things that we do here in Taft is really great. The Taft Sportsman Club. Every year for the last 25 years, they have an annual pheasant hunt. It's a wonderful deal for the kids to go out there and be supervised and go out hunting pheasant and get a taste of Americana and how our country was, how to survive on hunting. And so I encourage anybody who has some young folks, get a hold of Tom Brown at 765-2704 and ask for application, and hopefully the kids will have a grand old time and stuff. And that's all I have here. Thank you.
Well, that's an awful lot.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff coming up. Holidays are upon us. And
Yeah.
next, everybody's going to have a full schedule, for heaven's sakes. The fishing derby, the pheasant hunt, the Christmas parade,
Yep.
Thanksgiving, my favorite holiday of the year. If I was the king of the world, we'd have Thanksgiving 4 times a year. That'd be it. I love Thanksgiving.
And you don't say there's nothing to do here in Taft.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. I want to touch on something because I've been getting emails from people through my city email telling me that as the mayor of the city of Taft, what am I doing about vagrancy? Well, I think we've talked about this in depth. What can any community, what can any law enforcement agency, what can any individual do within the boundaries of the ever-changing laws in the state of California? I will tell you that our troops, our team, are doing everything we can to safeguard the children and public health and public quality of life within those means. The state of California and the courts have placed handcuffs on law enforcement in this state, and it is no secret. What I will tell you that I don't do is I don't encourage those individuals. I don't encourage heroin addicts. I don't encourage meth addicts. I don't encourage drunks. I do not feed them. I do not clothe them. I do not give them money. And I am going to ask that our police chief come talk to us a little bit about the demographics that have changed amongst those that live on the street, and unfortunately the criminal element among them that preys on the law-abiding citizens of the city of Taft. So just know that for whatever reason, there are a lot of different reasons people choose to reach out to these individuals. By making them comfortable in our community, we are not encouraging them to get away from their self-destructive way of life. We are exacerbating that condition. We are creating a condition whereby they can come live in our community comfortably. They can be fed 3 times a day, 7 days a week, and clothed, and get cash. and then they can use whatever means they come up with, whether it's through dumpster diving or stealing and selling, but they can use all of that to get their heroin and their meth and their alcohol, which will end up killing them and encouraging them to victimize honest, hardworking people. So that's a long way around saying we are doing everything we can. I, as the mayor, cannot do any more than our team is doing day in and day out every day. But I will tell you all out there, those of you who feel compassion and feel the need to reach out to those folks, you are actually enabling their behavior and not doing the entire issue any good. So with that, I will call that a day. One more thing struck me. I got a picture from a resident here in the city of Taft who sat down on one of the benches on Rails to Trails, and she sat there to take a break because she was utilizing Rails to Trails for exercise, just like so many people do. And she happened to glance over, and sitting next to her in the grass was a used syringe, which probably had residue of heroin, as well as blood-borne pathogens of some sort. We live in a state whereby if you're a waitress and you hand out a plastic straw to somebody who doesn't request it, you're subject to a fine, because we believe by removing plastic straws we'll save the entire planet. However, we are handing out plastic syringes in record volumes, and those plastic syringes make their way to playgrounds and recreational facilities and Rails to Trails, where I would much rather find a discarded plastic straw from somebody's big gulp. So it's just a note. That's all I have this evening. Next up, department reports. It looks like our chief is going to address the council. Thank you very much, Chief McMahon.
Absolutely. Mayor, Councilman. City Manager Craig. City Attorney Jason, how are you, sir? I see you over there, Vet. Today I'm going to bring you the patrol statistics for the Taft Police Department for the month of October. Total incidents were 886. Calls for service, 516. Officer-initiated incidents, 370. Now, and if anybody knows, and I know Jeff will, immediately noticed that my initiated incidents, which are the officers going out making traffic stops and contacting individuals, dropped quite a bit below calls for service. But with that, also notice that calls for service are up probably anywhere between 75 and 100. So that has a direct effect on that. Also, the fact that we had 2 officers recently leave the city of Taft in that month. So we were shorthanded by 2. We have recently recovered 1. We have a new hire on, and he has started the last week of September or October. And of course, during that time, many don't know, but he's actually just driving around, getting familiar with the area and with the city. So he's not really out making stops. And he's got an FDO officer, so that actually takes 2 officers to train 1. And the individuals aren't really taking a lot of calls for service at that time. Within the first month, that will change, and you'll see the officers back out on the streets. But again, that just reflects the fact that our calls for service went up quite a bit this month, which I have no problem with. That just shows that what I've been asking for individuals is to be a witness, to be a victim. Call and let us know if you have a crime occurring, so we can respond, because we cannot be everywhere, obviously, and we need the community and the citizens to assist us in any way, shape, or form. And calling us and providing that information helps tremendously. It really does. I'm going to go down to the total officer reports, which were also up in the month of October to 153. Felony reports were 30. General information were 36. Misdemeanors 72. Incident activity at 3, and unclassified reports at 3. We also had an animal control report and courtesy report, which is a courtesy report for another agency that we've taken. Total, this is what I like, the total misdemeanor and felony arrests. We had a total of 70 in the month of October. 52 misdemeanor arrests and up 18 felony arrests this month, in the month of October. So definitely I'm proud of the individuals that are working for the city. They're out doing their job, and we're going to keep moving forward. And unfortunately, I have some news that says that we're doing such a good job that we're actually, we've contacted some individuals that are homeless that we didn't recognize in the city of Taft. And we do have a pretty good handle on who's homeless and perceived homeless in our city. And we noticed that we had some individuals that we didn't recognize. We ended up contacting those individuals, and they provided information that why they're at the city of Taft, which reiterates what the mayor was talking about, is the fact that they can come here and get fed 3 times a day, 7 days a week, and the crime rate is low. So my guys are out doing their job for the citizens, which also attracts the individuals that are homeless and often using narcotics or addicted to opiates and alcohol issues. And that is definitely an issue that we have here on the streets, and we're doing our best to curb that. And what I mean by they're leaving it safe is they're not getting mugged. They're not getting jumped for whatever money or drugs they have. And in other cities, gang members and others do attack the homeless. They're easy prey. So if they have something, it's easy to take it away from them. And here, according to 3 individuals that were spoken to by my officers, this is a safe place to be. So this is the place to go.
Thank you very much, Chief. And that was the point. It's rather ironic that you and your team are doing such a good job of creating a safe environment, safe neighborhood, safe community. And unfortunately, that coupled with the 3 square meals a day, 7 days a week, is attracting those individuals that I'm getting contacted about, and everybody is. Crimes against property based on drug abuse and things like that in the state of California are up substantially. One would have to have his head buried in the sand to not see what's going on over there in the city of Bakersfield and Kern County. For heaven's sakes, the ultimate irony, high-speed rail just got into the homeless shelter business. Everybody hear what I just said? Is that not the silliest thing you ever heard? High-speed rail authority. Those people do such a stellar job of managing the people's money and turning out a usable product on schedule that they purchased a property that has a homeless center in Bakersfield, and they're going to lease it out for the next 5 years, and they're actually going to increase the number of beds. You cannot make this up. So I appreciate the fact that you and your guys are out there and making the contact and keeping it safe. So everybody out there, this is a friendly community. People have big hearts. However, your hearts are being taken advantage of, and it is exacerbating a condition that we're trying to work through. Please bear that in mind.
If I might, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir, please.
You brought something, the perceived homeless.
Absolutely.
I don't know that everybody's on board with what that actually means out in TV land or whatever. If you would like.
Perceived homeless are the individuals that you see daily standing near the supermarkets panhandling, and you get to recognize those individuals because you've seen them often, and you see them throughout town. But at night, they're not the ones that are sleeping in our parks or in Rails for Trails areas or down in Sandy Creek Wash. Those individuals that actually have a place to go during the day or during the night. And they're perceived homeless because they dress the part and they walk up and they're panhandling. So everybody that panhandling, of course, must be homeless. That's the public perception. And that's not the case because we've contacted these individuals and we do know they have a place to live. They have, some of them have an income, but they offset that income by panhandling, collecting cans and other sources that they go through. And most of them also are have an addiction problem. Now, by no means am I saying be heartless. That's not what I'm about. And anybody that knows me knows that that's not what I'm about. I believe in a hand up, not a handout, because a handout is an enabling, and that's what it is. It really is. And it's unfortunate. And Andy Warhol, 15 Minutes of Fame, I have something to express about Proposition 47, which was the Safe Schools Act. And I've been talking about this to city manager and to my mayor often. And it's the point where you attach something called Safe Schools, which actually allowed individuals not to be prosecuted for being under the influence, possessing possessing a controlled substance, in possession of a meth pipe, where before you could put those individuals into custody and put them in a prison or a jail. And everybody thinks, well, that's just terrible, because then it's the proposition AB 109, where we're overcrowding the prison systems. I ask you to look at it in a way. The individuals that are taken into custody actually are put into a facility where 30, 60, 90 days you are drug-free. You are in a facility where you have an opportunity to be clean. You're fed 3 meals a day. You're medically taken care of, dental work, you're clothed. You're in with other human beings, and you associate with other human beings. Because if you notice, homeless don't associate with other human beings except for other homeless. They won't speak to you. They usually walk with their head down, or they just ask for something. And they've just kind of slipped away from society, unfortunately. But if you get to the individuals that are incarcerated, yes, it's incarceration. They're fed, they're taken care of. There's programs for Proposition 36 and drug diversion. They get classes where they can actually go into some kind of a class that they can become a productive part of society in some kind of metal work or a classroom setting. They actually get a chance to get a degree, their GED. And you got to understand something. When they come out of prison at that time, whether it be 30, 60, or 90 days, or even more, the family unit actually opens their arms and brings them back in, because they're clean, and they know they're clean. But the ones that you see on the streets that are the addiction that's got a hold of them so deep, you notice the families have cut them off. They want nothing to do with them. Those individuals are outcasts, and they won't bring them back into the family unit at all. And that's a sad thing, because unfortunately, California, pardon the analogy, drank the Kool-Aid and believed in, Safe Schools Act, and they changed these felonies to misdemeanors, and that no longer can take people in custody for being under the influence, and where you can actually get them help. So now, I ask you, what is more, and the fact that AB 109 was a strategy that the state of California, we just imprisoned so many. How terrible is that? And now we're going to push that on to the county levels, to where the counties have to take care of their own. And they think that's because they have more ability to do so. And I say that there's no way. The county levels are a smaller entity than the state. The state have huge facilities and large amounts of money. That's why the state of California was in the black, because they shuffled the money, AB 109, and shuffled the inmates into the counties and let the counties have to take care of it. 20 years ago, can anybody tell me how many homeless we had? Did you see them walking around 20 years ago, 15 years ago?
Very few. Very few.
And I'm not saying that some don't need mental health, because there are individuals out there that do need it, but it's a very small percentage that aren't induced from some kind of addiction. And they don't want help, because they know that addiction is going to be something that's got a hold of them. And if you bring them in and put them into custody, they don't want to go into custody, because they're going to be deathly ill, and they know it. So what's more inhumane? Incarcerating the individuals, let it to where they could get help, be fed, be brought back into society with their families, have an opportunity to actually thrive. Do they reoffend? Absolutely, some of them do. Most of them do. But what's more inhumane? Letting them live on the side of the road in ditches and continue to use narcotics and get it any way they can, and live in their own urine and feces and not shower and have little or no communication with other human beings? What's more inhumane? And California needs to wake up, because it's obvious. And I'm not a proponent of just throwing everybody, incarcerating everybody. But if you don't get them clean, if you don't make that effort to clean them up, to get the drugs or alcohol out of their system to where they can function correctly, you're going to see what you see today. And that's the homeless Hoovervilles and huge amounts of individuals that don't have a place to go. And those were the individuals we incarcerated before, and they actually had a chance to reinform in society. But right now, the way things are going, they don't. And we leave them out on the streets. And again, is that humane? Because I don't think it is.
It is not. I let people know that I watched a program, and I know you've watched that program.
Absolutely.
I hope everybody has. That program is available on YouTube, and the program is Seattle is Dying. It's a 1-hour program. Very, very informative. Helps you understand the complexities of this issue, and also helps you understand just exactly what the chief was talking about. And that is, you've got to get them someplace, get them off the drugs, and get them clean and clear their heads before you're going to make an appreciable difference. Or like the professionals that came before the city council some months ago, we asked them, of the 37 or 38 that are on the streets on the west side, how many did they feel? These are the professionals. They feel they could actually get in the van, get into the program, clean up, and save. Of the 38, they said maybe 2. Maybe 2. All the rest are there because they want to be. So this is a very important subject. It impacts communities, especially on the West Coast. It is not going to be solved overnight, but it needed to be said because I was asked by so many people, and I've taken advantage of the media to say and answer those people that reached out. So that is the reason for that. Thank you very much for the update.
I have a question for the chief.
Absolutely.
Does the courts protect panhandlers in front of stores?
Now, there's the law about panhandling. It's aggressive panhandling. If somebody were to approach you and go, hey, can you spare $1? And you say no, and they turn and walk away, it's not a crime in the state of California. It's the individual that steps in front of you, blocks your egress and ingress, and gets to the point where he's aggressively, and you feel that he's being aggressive. And it's almost like you feel like you have to give him money to go on about your way. If he blocks your path, and he's like, give me $1, that's a different type. That's an aggressive panhandler. And yes, but we need a victim.
And then the next question I have, is there an ordinance in Taft for panhandling?
Yes, there is. Yes, there are.
And what's our procedure for that?
The procedure is we need a victim. It's a misdemeanor, not in our presence. It's a city ordinance, it's not in our presence. So it's something that if someone were to say, this individual approached me, I felt fearful, if I didn't provide him with money because I couldn't pass, or I felt like if I didn't give him money I was in fear or danger of some way, then we need a victim. It can't be just, hey, there's a guy panhandling at the corner of, walk and don't walk. That doesn't help. We'll go there, and if we don't see this occurring and we don't have a victim stand up for us,
Mr. Mayor.
then that's where we're at.
One more, I know we've taken this quite a ways, but I'll say this for anybody that doesn't know. I'm also in law enforcement, and I work the surrounding county areas and stuff. And I will say that it's a systemic problem, but of the hundreds in the past couple of years that I've spoken with in the surrounding area, essentially the one thing they all have in common here, whether they're doing what they're doing in the county area, within the city limits, wherever it is, and I can tell you a quote, the people here are so nice. So that has been the one common denominator that I've seen, regardless of where I've talked to them as to why, because I ask every one of them. My guys there's a zero tolerance policy at night. We don't, that's another story, but every one of them I talk to, and they all, like the mayor said, they all have that one thing in common, is how well they're treated in this area.
Mr. Mayor.
Just saying.
Sir.
I have something for you to add to the chief's numbers about Prop 47 and how much fun it's been.
And if you guys don't know, this is the former chief of police. I followed him, so he's walked this path that I'm walking now and understands exactly where I'm at.
Well, I have some interesting numbers for you all tonight. As some of you may know, we'd like to get our court back, and it's been pondered that we might get it back on a part-time basis, maybe, if the numbers are there. And so I have been researching this at length, and here is some of the very first preliminary numbers that I have from the Taft Court through CJIS. Thought I'd share this with you, Chief. Of the 16,771 total Lamont misdemeanor cases, Taft puts out 5,253, or just about a third. And that encompasses Arvin, Lamont, Frazier Park, and the West Side. But we're providing about a third of the misdemeanor cases. The problem is we only have about a 65% appearance rate. That means 35% of the people, 1/3 of everybody that we cite, will not go to court. So Prop 47 is not only not working, but even if you cite release them, which is what you have to do, a third of the time they're not going to court. They won't go to court. And What we don't know until I break down all these cases is, of those 5,253 cases, most of those cases are repeat offenders where they get cited 6, 7, 8, 9 times before they finally make an appearance in court on a no bail warrant.
Absolutely.
And that I haven't broken down until I get some more numbers. But preliminarily, right now for the Taft, for the west side, and that's the CHP, sheriff, and Taft PD, only 65% of the people that get cited actually go to court, and that's pretty low.
And our hands are tied, so when we contact individuals that break these laws or ordinance, we're doing exactly what Councilman Whiting said. We're giving them a cite, because that's all we can do.
So, everybody out there who asked, what are we doing about it? We're doing everything we can. Everything we can, but we need the community's cooperation if we are all going to help solve this problem. All right?
Thank you, gentlemen. One safety tip, we had an incident that occurred, and it's very rare in the city of Taft. But be aware of your surroundings. Be cognizant of leaving your vehicle running while you're inside the house. I'm going to let it warm up with the keys in it, the door open. Run back in the house for just a few minutes, which turns into 5 minutes, because now you discovered something else you need to do with your vehicle running outside. Doors unlocked, garages left open, going to the ATM late at night without a second person with you. Be aware of your surroundings when you walk up to ATMs or in and out of grocery stores. I'm not saying that Taft's such a city that you have to be cognizant, but it's natural. You should be. I mean, in our day and age, you should be. You should pay attention to your loved ones, and your loved ones should pay attention to their surroundings, as do I and my family, and I hope everybody's family here today and everybody throughout the city of Taft does. So please do so. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you.
Do we have any other department reports this evening? All right, next up, City Manager statements. City Manager Joan.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to echo Randy's announcement about our Veterans Day celebration Monday, November 11th, Veterans Memorial Park at 10 a.m. As he said, we'll have a good feed and a good program, and hopefully we have lots of veterans show up and let us say thank you to them.
All right, I look forward to it.
Nice
Every
challenge
year.
coins this year. Got some nice gold challenge coins, and then
Last year's were beautiful as well, by the
we
way.
changed up the design this year, so hopefully each year we can have something a little different. So they're really nice. And then I'd like to thank Councilman Cryer for the kind words about retail. As you all know, it's a team effort. Building relationships with these developers it's not easy. These projects usually take about 3 years from the time that we show any interest or they show interest to where we can get something actually started with a building permit. And there's a lot of obstacles that you all know, challenges that we have to overcome, and it's not a one-person show. It takes all the departments, public works, planning, everybody to put something into a project so it can be built. And $2.5 million store is, it's quite an investment for an investor to invest in. So that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Next up, City Attorney statements. Jason?
Thank you. No statements, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Future agenda requests, gentlemen. Any future agenda requests this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on then. Consent calendar items 9 through 14. All items listed on the consent calendar shall be considered routine and will be enacted by one roll call vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the City Council requests specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Any item removed from the consent calendar will be considered after the regular business items. Are there any items on the consent calendar that any member of the public would like to comment on? Seeing none. The items on this evening's consent calendar are item number 9, which is the minutes from the October 15th, 2019 regularly scheduled meeting. Item number 10 is the payment of bills, some $576,000 worth. Item number 11, letter and resolution concerning Caltrans proposal to delete funding for San Joaquin Valley projects in the Interregional Transportation Improvement Program. The recommendation here is a motion to adopt a resolution entitled A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft reaffirming the City Council's position supporting finishing the final gap segments on State Routes 46 and 99 identified for deletion in the draft 2020 Interregional Transportation Improvement Program, and authorizing the mayor to sign and send a letter of concern. Item number 12 is an update to the alcohol and drug testing policy. Recommendation is a motion to adopt a resolution entitled A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft approving the Drug and Alcohol Policy Addendum, City of Taft, Taft Area Transit. Item 13 is an application to California Volkswagen Mitigation Trust Fund Grant Program for transit bus replacement. Recommendation here is a motion to adopt a resolution entitled A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft approving an application to the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District California VW Mitigation Trust Fund to purchase a zero-emission transit bus and authorizing the city manager to execute all documents. Finally, item number 14 is the disposal of city obsolete, unsafe, and uneconomical to repair equipment. Recommendation is a motion to approve disposing of listed equipment through online auction. Does any council member wish to remove any of the consent calendar items 9 through 14? Hearing none at this time, I would entertain a motion to approve consent calendar items 9 through 14.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. May we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Cryer,
Yes.
Councilmember Eveland,
Yes.
Councilmember Whiting,
Yes.
and Mayor Knorr.
Yes, that passes on a 4-0 vote with one absentee. Thank you very much. So this brings us to the end of our open session portion of this evening's meeting. I want to thank you all for being a part of this evening's meeting. We will now go into closed session for item A, conference with real property negotiator Craig Jones, city manager, government code section 54956.8, APN number 032-110-30, 032-110-70 and 71, 031-040-17-00-8, and 308 Church Street. Good evening, everybody. We're now in closed session.